What's up, Brite Nation?
What's up, Brite Nation?
As most of you remember, in a previous video, we talked to you about the Stepchild 3.0 build and how we had to completely change our original plans as far as the suspension went.
Yeah, the packaging just wasn't working out with everything. I wanted coilovers, bypasses all around. We were only able to get coilover bypasses up front, sort of. Wasn't happening in the rear, and I didn't want just coilovers in the rear, and I didn't want to do a coil spring with bypasses anymore because I want adjustability. And
part of it too is there was a lot of work involved just to do that, but we weren't really getting a lot of gains for the amount of work. And if we're gonna do the work, and by we I mean Chris, if Chris is gonna do the work, we should hopefully get as much gain as possible.
I work too.
He helps a lot.
I work to stay out of the garage as much as possible.
And it's tough for him. Sometimes he'll come out. I got this idea.
It's hard work.
It's my garage.
The good news is the deadline is coming up really fast. We're going to be at the Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion and the Bronco Stampede. This has to get done before then. There is no other option at this point. The Stepchild is coming with us. But luckily for us, today, these finally showed up. So these are ADS Racing Shocks 3.0 MBR coilovers. MBR stands for multi-bypass ring. Essentially, these are internal bypass coilovers, but they take the idea of an internal bypass to a whole nother level. These are some of the biggest and baddest coilovers on the market. And by market, I mean race cars, because as of right now, that's really the only people running these monsters. We, however, with the Stepchild, will be one of the first daily street-driven Jeeps with these guys installed.
So these MBR coilovers and smooth body shocks are available in 10 to 18 inches worth of travel. Bolting applications are coming soon. We did go with 14s front and rear, which is why we're having to do so much, because 14s don't just fit on a JL or a JK. You've got to go way up with the tower.
Now, I said they take the concept of an internal bypass to a whole nother level. What I mean by that is their MBR technology essentially is a true multi-stage bypass system where each zone is independently adjustable internally by a positive stop helix system. Now, what does all this mean? It means a lot of freaking flow. A 16-inch stroke one of these guys would have the equivalent of a 7-tube external bypass when it comes to flow. That's pretty insane. They also are equipped with internal free bleed ports, which allow a shock tuner to maximize the damping curve for each individual vehicle's needs, which is something clearly we also are interested in.
And what's really cool is ADS Racing Shocks actually will tune this whole setup for us and for you. They actually wanted us to tell you guys that they tune all kinds of stuff. So it doesn't matter if you have a Jeep or a side-by-side or a buggy, they tune, and they're in Tucson, Arizona, which is like a very big hub of off-roading. Arizona's huge for that. So you can get with them if you've got a whole setup that you need tuned.
And we'll be getting with them after the Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion on our way home specifically for that purpose.
Yes.
What's also cool is these coilovers, the true top-out zones, provide both a mechanical and a hydraulic damping, which means that it prevents any damage when you fully extend the shock or the coilover in really harsh conditions, which is something this guy
is going to try to do.
It will come in handy.
It will. So another cool thing that I really love is that you have high and low speed compression and rebound adjustments right here on the external reservoir. So you take this cap off, and there's your high and low speed compression, and then the other cap is your high and low speed rebound. So you get a ton of adjustments. So once you get this tuned, if you're loading stuff up or whatever you're doing, it's super cool that you can actually mess up everything the shock tuner did. I'm just kidding, but you do get like a whole lot of extra adjustment right here on the reservoir.
Now, you might have also noticed that this thing has dual hoses. Now, that basically means that there is a true recirculating fluid path all the way through to the reservoir. That means maximum cooling for all of the fluid inside of this shock. There's also internal diverters, which make sure that the entire shock body is encompassed by the fluid flow, again, for maximum cooling performance. Essentially, when you guys said go big or go home, and we told you, well, we're never home anyways, so we're going big, does that give you a better idea of how fucking huge these things
I mean, 14s are no joke. And Chris got his work cut out for him, literally cut out for him.
Which is why I made these.
They're so big.
But do they fit? Oh man,
yeah.
That might actually fit. Is this called docking?
If it just sits in there, though. If it just
soaking?
Are you
soaking?
just soaks in there.
So essentially, these are the rear towers, and they are freaking huge.
Yeah, I couldn't find any big enough on the market, so I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just make my own. If you recall in a prior video, we already do have the front towers installed. I made them as tall as I could possibly get them to go. So we are going to see right now if in fact my math skills are correct. So the front should be pretty easy. I'm gonna get these things installed and make sure it articulates out, make sure everything in that nature works. And then the front will be set up. It still needs to be pulled apart, completely welded. Everything needs to be gusseted. All that stuff needs to happen. And it needs to be painted and everything. And I still need to do plumbing on the Ram, which is also here. Tomorrow, I'll probably get into the brakes. But for now, we're probably going to see if we can get these front ones hung and make sure that I mathed correct. So let's get these front ones installed. All right, so the ones over here, I had asked them when they made these to make them straight fittings to straight fittings and about 12 to 14 inches in this area. These ones are 90s because the head sits differently in the back. So I'm gonna see if I can get these in. I'm gonna put a spring on them, just one, just to make sure that everybody clears and everything's happy. So yeah, we're gonna stick one of these guys on there and get them installed. Now for the fun part. So here we go. Oh my God. All right. Yep, they're heavy. Okay, where's the bottom? There's, oh my God. Okay. Oh, yes. No, go on. Oh. Okay, all right, please hold. I'm gonna have to go get Kevin. All right, I regrouped. Let's try again, one more time. Okay, let's go, come on, baby. Let's stop, get out of the seat. Oh God. Oh God, okay. I can't, there you go. All the way in, we are all the way live. Okay, so problem one. All right, well, my math is almost correct because I got to go up about 4 or 5 more inches, which, you know, I have some in here, which is good. That's plenty. What I didn't do is you can see I need to take some out of the front face of this. Again, I designed these by eyeball and a picture on the internet. So yeah, I'm gonna have to open this up just a little bit for this front corner of this head there. All right, well, we got this guy notched out. It's not super pretty right here in this little corner, but I'll fix this later because I have to take all this back apart and we got to finish welding all this, so we got to paint it. But right now I'm gonna make sure it fits. Good thing I ate my Wheaties this morning. Okay, right hand, yes, knobs out. Here we go. Come on, buddy. Yeah, all right. Jesus, why do they gotta be so damn heavy? Okay, and of course, Kevin shows up now. Here's Kevin. All right, ready? They're in, they swing. So now we're just gonna try to get these bottom bolts in and then we'll play articulation games. That guy. No, it won't. Nope, I'm gonna have to change that bottom bracket. All right, well, shite. That is full compressed in there. The little squishy guy is compressed in there. We're right where we wanted to be. This doesn't,
It's only upside down.
no tight. That would go right there. That's damn near perfect, huh? Make a little bracket for it, stuff it in there.
That would be pretty sick. We just need a new sticker.
Yeah, companies, I just send the stickers in the box because I would have put that the
So it's
right way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, slow. I'm just scared.
What are you scared of?
I don't know. All right,
Well, that's not where we are, but. Bro, this is insane right now.
That's pretty insane right now. It's still dropped. Oh my God.
Let's just go down.
Oh my God. What the hell? Oh my God. I'm gonna take my own little video.
There it is.
That's it. Finally. Oh,
we're off.
my goodness.
And this is, yeah, that's full stuff.
Holy crap.
Kevin said go big or go home, right?
A little bit of trimming to do up front.
So the only thing I got left to do up front is change the bottom angle of the bottom of the shock, take it apart and weld it. Like that's literally, that's it. That's all I got now. It's just, so the front is technically sort of almost done.
Yeah, I mean, it's decently dialed. Everything clears. The towers are big enough. That's pretty crazy.
Brake lines and shock bottoms, and that's literally it. And then put it back.
And then we got to attack. You got to attack the rear. Pretty good.
Yeah, I know, that's tomorrow. All right, good morning. And as usual, before I go any farther, because I was about to just keep going, I need to put bump stops in the front. So we already took the shocks out because I don't want to get them all screwed up. We know everything works. I know I just need to change that little mount right there. Not a big deal. I can do that once we get it on the ground or I get it off. But bump stops, so I know I need to put that sucker right about there. So this is what I came up with already. These are basically the old mount, but I did have to redo them and make new ones because this can is different than the old one. These bump stops bolt to the top of this, and this is your crash. That's what they crash into. The Bilsteins are lipped at the bottom so that they don't go up any higher, but these ones are encapsulated. So they need to go right there and crash out. Anyway, that's where these guys are gonna go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these guys tacked in and see how they work. All right, so we got these guys welded in. This one minus this side because I have to take this apart, but I'll do that part later. They're welded in. I got the bumps back in it. Now I have to bump it back out, put the shocks back in it, bump it out, and then build bump pads on the axle tube. So that's the last thing I think we have in the front. And then I have a couple of days to do the rear. So here we go. So we don't have too far to go. I do have to build a box in here. But what I'm thinking right now is I bet you, the stock front spring perch actually, I might have to modify it up a little bit, but it's a little tall though. I mean, I guess I could take this off and just build a new puck and bounce that off a puck instead of, I don't know. Let me mess with this a little bit and I'll see if I can get this in there. All right, short answer, no, they won't work. Long answer, yes, they will work. We're gonna go ahead and chop these up. This little tang right here is the support arm for the lower pickup on the control arm. So I need this. Well, I don't need this, but I can use this. I don't need it this wide. This doesn't really all fit in there. This is a hair too tall. So I am going to cut this guy off. I'm going to cut this guy off. I'm going to put them together. That way this actually still works because that will brace the control arm. Same on this side. This braces the control arm. This actually goes through the track bar bracket, but we moved the track bar bracket, so I'm not really worried about it, but we are going to take these apart and start slicing and dicing. So long answer, yes, we're going to start chopping these things up. All right, so if we just cut the middle out of it, and then we put it back together, this side needs to get cut off completely. And then on this side, we just got to notch this side. And then this will be your support, which I'll put it back on there. And this one will move all the way over. And then I'll run a support down the middle of it once I put it back together. I'm basically going to trace this guy out and just make a whole nother one of these. So there'll be one in the middle and one on the end. So there'll be 3 of them. So as you can see, kind of in there, and then this leg, that back leg back there, will go up against that arm, and it actually fits. Really not, it's pretty square to the bump, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll add a rib basically in the middle, which will be right where the bump hits, and then I'll put another pad across the whole top because I need to go up about 1/2 inch. So that one's stuck under the track bar bracket. Well, now they're both on the floor.
A few moments later.
And here they are, chopped up, tacked back together. We'll go ahead and I'll probably weld these up first, not this, but I'll get that welded up, that welded up.
All right, guys, so we had a little crisis last night. Everything was in. It looked amazing. And then we went to full stuff. We put a wheel and tire on, went to full stuff, and then turned it all the way to the left. And so you can see the tower used to be way back here. The coilovers lean too far back, and a tire, because these frickin' Dynatracks have like 50 degrees of steering angle, the tire was getting hard into the springs. Because you got to remember this spring is a 3.75 inner diameter, so it's about a 5-inch outer diameter. So that's massive. 3.0 internal bypasses are about 5 inches, 5 1/4 around out here, so that's a lot. Anyway, we had to cut everything back off, move the towers all the way forward, and now we actually have to move these bottom tabs in about 1/4 inch. We're clearing now. We did put some 1/4 spacers on it because our new wheels that are coming in are going to be, or 1/2 spacers. Our new wheels are going to be 1/2 more offset. Chris was able to lean the towers in, bring them all the way forward to the bump stop where before they were welded in back here. Now it all just needs to come apart. Everything's golden. Everything works perfectly. Yeah, so now we can pull all this off. I'm going to clean up these other arms, these old arms, put new joints in them, and Chris is now going to start working on the rear because that's the next big thing. So the goal today is going to be for Chris to get this all cut up and get the towers tacked in the rear and get the coilovers hung back there in the rear. So it's going to be a long day. But if he just focuses on just that and I work on doing everything up here, I think we'll get quite a bit done today. Do you see that? That is insane.
Yeah, so while Kevin does joints, I've been working on this. So I just took a template, and I did it before, because as you can see my center lines before, and I'm just verifying, like, this is the center line at full stuff, this is the center line at full stuff, that's the one at full droop. On the chassis, now it's narrower than the box, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I took the center line, I buried 3 inches up from the top of the wheel well, and then I just went to full bump, and I made sure that I'm outside of the center of the axle, and I'm now almost at full droop. I gotta go like 2 more inches down, and I'm kind of lazy, but we're like way over here. So this is where I want to start cutting the frame and start pocketing and getting that thing in there, and then I'm gonna cut the tower probably an inch across here, an inch off the surface, because I want to bury it inside, because it's going to go inside the frame. So I'm going to bring it back down. I'm going to wrap the interior in blankets and fireproof stuff, and then I'm going to start hacking. So after measuring about 15-20 times, I'm going to cut it about 20. This is what we came up with. I ground it down, and I just used some of that Dicom marking fluid. We did both sides, so both sides are marked out. Because I need these jacks under here, Kevin's laughing at me because I've been thinking about this process for like 20 minutes. Drop it down. We're going to remove the axle. Chassis is already on the rack. We'll put the rack on the stops. I need to hold up the back of the frame, and besides, I don't need all this weight right here, like in my way, because I got to get under there and above it and underneath it and over it and around it and cutting all this stuff out. We are going to do both sides at the same time. Reason being, A, I need both jacks, so I can't just do one side at a time. I will put one bucket in at a time, but we are going to put both of them in together before we put the whole thing back together. Yeah, we're just going to go for it now. So part comes and out comes the cutters. Alright, so we're just about an inch inside the frame. We're an inch over the top, so that should be plenty of room. Inch over the top. Again, I will beautify all this up later. We have to build boxes, and I need to do a lot of body work on here to make that box fit really good so that you can get the bolt in and out of the top. But don't really care about how bad this looks right now, because I will beautify that once we get the towers in here. You can see the frame. Time to cut that sucker out. Doesn't happen often, but it is pouring outside right now. The wind is obnoxious, so the lighting in here is getting really bad, but we'll work around it. The benefit that we have in this situation is a long time ago I welded this bar across the frame. As you can see, where that mark is, just inside of or at this spring perch, which is nice because I only have to come in about a ½ inch across there and cut that off, which means all of this is structure which will hold the front face of this frame up. This is not going to fall. I'm afraid that if I didn't have this bar in here, we're going to go right to the end of that weld. We might have to get into that weld a little bit, and this piece might fall, and then we would be not really screwed, but you know, putting this back together, it wouldn't be where it's supposed to be when you put it back together. Now we're just going to start cutting that out, cutting that one out. Hail Mary, here we go. All right, and we're through. So you can see there's still quite a bit of structure holding this part of the frame to this part of the frame. And I didn't have to get into this weld. I thought maybe it was gonna get inside of there, but now we're gonna see if this fits, how far back we gotta go. Yeah, I want like I want like 3/4 of an inch sticking out of the face of this, maybe less, of the box. So let's go see if it fits. Go in there. Oh, we gotta go back. I mean, it fits pretty good. And it does need to go up, so I need to widen it up. I think I'll go wider in the back because I had way more room in the front. Shouldn't be too terribly much. So, back to the grinding. All right, after some trimming, this is what I came up with. The reason I put this down so far is because the seat is gonna sit like right here, and I still need to build a box around this that'll be part of the cab, not the chassis. This is part of the chassis. I need to build a box around it that's probably about 1/2 inch all the way around, so that, you know, the body flex and everything, nothing runs into anybody, but we'll do that part later. So for now, yeah, we clear the seat by about 1/2 inch. So that's where she's gonna sit, right about there. Let's get it tacked in. All right, so she's in, and yeah, I know this is long, but I designed these without actually being on the frame, so they are a little long, but I'm gonna come through later and I'll cut this off, and this will actually get pocketed all the way up to that spring perch, because there's nothing back there. I don't need any of this. So I'll cut it across here, go up to the spring perch, come down, and just lob it off around these corners up. But there she is. Now I just gotta do the other side. This side, reverse order of the other side. Movie magic. It is now welded in. So now we just put all the suspension back underneath it, put the links back on it, we'll put it back down on the ground, we'll lift it back up with the axle underneath it, and then we'll articulate it so that we get the shocks in here.
All right, rolling the axle back under. Why is that? Well, if you look here, we've got some MBRs, we got some ADS MBRs set up in there. Straight up and down, that's touching. It should never get that close, but we'll see. The lines are up inside, and the resi is going to be mounted to the cage from the inside like that. Yeah, it all fits. It all fits somehow. Somehow, Chris. We're in. All right. It is all working. So full droop, the spring's almost touching. That's the only part that we were really worried about, was at full droop as the axle came forward, if the spring was going to touch here. And it looks like we're not, and we're right on top of the axle. Well, it's a little bit back right now. We might push the axle back just a little bit, or just cheat the shock to the back of the axle a little bit. Easy down. That's good enough. If you say so. Holy I mean, we know there's no reason for it to need to go any higher. Like that comes out perfectly. That comes out perfectly. Hold on, let's show you what's going on.
So dope.
So that's where it's going to go, but it needs to go a little higher, obviously, because it can't just sit on the axle tube. So it's going to go 1/2 inch up from that. And then as you see, we barely clear the tire. Well, I mean, not even barely. Like, we completely clear the tire. And then the only thing we're running into is that just now touching, but that won't touch anymore when we go up with this. Oh my God, are you able to put a bump stop inside of that frame tower? Or no?
In here? No, because this swings back.
Oh, okay.
I am going to put it here off of the back of this, and then off the back of that will be the sway bar mount. This will be much higher, but I'll put a pad right here that'll bump off of a bump here, and then off the back of that, this will be the sway bar bracket, because the sway bar goes right inside of this mount. The end of it is like right here, so that's perfect. And it'll be yeah. Yeah. All right, so last night I got the little shock bracket tacked on there. Also, I made these cool little brackets, so they're like hollowed out in the middle, so that you can still get this body bolt out. And then we got this thing back installed. So now we're gonna put some links on it and see where everything's gotta go. Oh, and I chopped these off. I chopped the rock crawler brackets off because we no longer need those, and I have a feeling that they're gonna get in the way of the sway bar link. Now we'll just get the links installed and see what happens. Spiffy. All right, so my calculations were correct. We use these bent billet arms. It's the only ones that they offer that jog up, because I did not need them to jog out. We are using the factory rear bar, these billet arms, and because I know that these arms were shorter eye to eye than the stock rear JL bars, I have the double shear brackets, which gives it another 1.5 inches of length. And then we're using a 770 bar And these are 14-inch links, and we are at full droop, and it looks good so far. So now all I gotta do is go to full stuff and see what happens to these links. So now let's see what it looks like at ride height. All right, so ride height, we aimed for about 6 inches, give or take 6 inches. That looks pretty good. At ride height, you typically want this triangle from that point to that point to that point. Typically you want that to be 90 degrees because that's its most efficient range, is right in the middle. As you can see, we are not quite there. We are point to point, probably 2 inches off. The reason I don't want to change this, and I'm gonna have to deal with it, is when you go to full droop, I don't want this to extend to basically be a straight line, because then the bar has a tendency to flip. We're gonna leave it here. I like it. It clears everybody. It's going to be a little soft, and it's going to be softer than normal because it's also this far off the back of the axle. Not a lot I could do about that because unfortunately this is the only spot we can really put the bar. If I could have gotten it above the tank and a little bit closer, we could have gone more linear to the center line of the axle, and then it would have been more effective. So it's a 770 bar. Kevin doesn't really need a rear sway bar anyway. He just likes kind of having it. If it's too soft, we can always go up in the bar to like an 875. We can always go up in a bar size to make this more like it used to be, because it is technically a little soft. That looks good. Now I'm gonna start working on the bumps. All right, so we got to put a bump in there somewhere. And Kevin was out here last night and said, "Hey, why don't we just put them in the tower?" So I actually might put them in this corner of the tower. They should fit. We were screwing around with it last night. Also, I do understand if we were to put the bump in the tower, it's going to bump out inside of here. So it's only going to be effective when the whole rear squats at the same time and bangs. You know, we hit a whoop. The most effective place would be put it linearly with this bolt somewhere in this area, so that every time it comes down, it doesn't come down in the bottom of this shock. Now, Kevin rock crawls this most of the time, so when he's hitting the big whoops and stuff, it'll be great because the whole rear axle will move at the same time. He's never gonna be bombing through the desert like a desert truck. That's not what this is designed to do. I don't think he'll do it. I know he won't do it because the Jeep just won't take it. It won't act that way. So in rock crawling purposes, when he does start to articulate it, we're not slamming the Jeep, the weight of the Jeep on this bypass. It's not crashing down to the bottom. Also, there's a little foam guy just to help with that. So when he's crawling really slow and it's going into articulation and it taps into the bottom of the shock, there's no harm done. It's not going to destroy anything, and like I said, there's a little foam guy in this little cone. Should be okay. The only reason the bump is there is for like the panic moment when, you know, you hit a big dip and you need to save this guy. Other than that, it'll never really be bouncing out full bump. So that's why we're going to put it inside. All right, and this is what I came up with. So it's just tacked in here because you don't want to weld this with the can in there. We want to tack it all in. And then I welded that plate onto the axle tube, and I did the same on the other side. Bam. So both of those are on there. So now that everything works, now we can go ahead and weld everything. I'll do it in stages. I'll do a little bit here, a little bit over there, a little bit back over here, just so we don't put too much heat in the chassis all in one spot all at the same time. I'll go ahead and clean all this up, like all this old brackets off. Lots of welding ahead of me. Stay tuned.
That is craziness. It came out of nowhere.
It's a little loud out there.
Ah.
Oh my God, it's hailing. Is it hail? It's
Oh
hail.
no.
Look at it. It's a, holy crap.
Well, hopefully it stays small. It's little though.
Crazy. Yeah, it's
Hopefully it
little.
stays.
Oh, well, we just lost power.
There goes the power. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey!
There it is. Good old Generac.
I don't know if you can hear us, but we're currently on generator power, so I can't really get any welding done today.
I think it's a good place to close this out. I mean, we're ready to go.
We might go.
Oh, that was abrupt.
It's still raining. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on a brighter day, hopefully.
Yeah. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals
at LiteBriteStudios.com. We'll see you later, guys.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Essentially, these are internal. They're internal bypass shocks. They're internal.
They're the most internal.
The most internal shocks ever. Okay. Go, Kev.
Up either. I got a mic on.
Oh, where's the mic? Where's the box?
It's in the box. That's concerning. That strap is way too tight.
Oh.
Definitely did not start drooping. She was like, no.